Following breaking news this morning, early morning storms, not the cause of our first solar weather day, but different storms earlier this morning have knocked out power to thousands of people and knocked over many trees as well. On your screen right now is video of a tree that hit an apartment complex in East Lansing. As you can see in this video, created a hole in the wall of that building. Now that's just one of several reports of damages in the area. We have a team in Lansing this morning covering some of the damage that we are seeing in the capital city. News 10's Justin Kent is joining us live. You can hear the rain on your umbrella, Justin. Justin, what damage are you seeing where you are? Marshall, one of the hardest hit areas by those storms last night and into this morning. Here's some more of that video from Marshall. As you can see, the wind, rain, and hail just pounding against this house. You can certainly hear the hail in this video as well. And this storm damaged part of this home's roof, taking shingles, as you can see in this picture here, and ripping them off the roof and onto the deck below. The family also says trees are down in that area as well. News 10's Kellen Buddy is joining us live from Calhoun County with a look at some of the damage. Kellen, what have you been seeing so far this morning? The storms that we saw last night and into this morning not only packed heavy rainfall that caused significant flooding, but strong winds are also making an impact now this morning. News 10's Riley Connell is in Lansing for us right now. Riley, you were covering flooding in East Lansing earlier, and now we're seeing some other damage caused by the rain and winds. Lightly shaded colors here, those are states that have a lean at the moment with only a certain percentage of the expected vote in. The harder shaded colors of red and blue, those are states that the Associated Press has already called a winner for. So that is what we're going to be tracking. As you can see, very early results in for states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, North Carolina, some of those swing states, Georgia. And you can see a lean, but we're not going to put too much stock into that at the moment. So we have an update to breaking news that we first brought to you on News 10 today. We now know nobody was injured in a large house fire that happened near Dansville. This is a live look at the scene right now. The Ingham Township Fire Chief tells News 10 the house was vacant and nobody was home when it caught fire this morning. Multiple agencies responded to the scene alongside the Ingham Township Fire Department, including Mason and Dansville Fire. It happened just before 5 o'clock this morning in the 1100 block of South Osborne Road. As you can see, firefighters have made great progress in knocking down the flames, but this is what the scene looked like earlier this morning. Our News 10 camera caught the home collapsing while fully engulfed in flames. We're following breaking news this morning. Lansing police are investigating a double homicide that happened last night. Take a look at your screen. You can see this happen on the south side of the city, just east of Cedar Street on Woodrow Avenue. And that's where we find News 10's Kellen Buddy joining us live this morning from the scene with the very latest. Kellen. Right now, severe storms are rolling through mid-Michigan, and the line of storms has knocked out power to over 100,000 Consumers Energy customers across the state already. We'll get to that in a second, but right now we're taking a live look through our drive cam this morning, which is in Eaton County, right in the Grand Ledge area. The storms that started on the west side of the state are currently moving through mid-Michigan. We've seen a lot of rain with this system. We've also seen numerous lightning strikes in our area happening in the last, about 30 minutes or so. Now, these powerful storms packed an even greater punch on the west side of the state. This is a live look at the Consumers Energy outage map. Right now, there are over 100,000 customers, actually over 110,000 customers now without power across the state of Michigan just from Consumers Energy alone, and that number continues to rise. And Darren, as this line of storms makes its way through mid-Michigan, how much longer do you think it's going to be with us? Well, we're looking forward to Woody's prediction, but nobody is looking forward to it maybe as much as our own Darren Rock.
Oh, absolutely. But just sitting here all
we'll be
day,
watching very closely to see what Woody thinks. Before we take a final look at today's weather, we do want to acknowledge a bitter rivalry, decades in the making.
That's right.
Well, if your family is like my family, Lions football isn't just part of your Thanksgiving holiday, but it's what you plan your day around and even your meal around. Our feast is at halftime every year, a late lunch, early dinner, whatever you want to call it. This year, the Lions will host NFC North rival Chicago. The Bears come in at 4-7, but Detroit is hoping to snap a 7-game losing streak on Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, Joey, it really was the second half. I mean, that third quarter alone, you had a 17-point lead for Detroit at halftime, and before we even got to the fourth quarter, that lead had completely evaporated, and there was obviously a turnover from Jahmyr Gibbs with the fumble that you just talked about, and then the 49ers offense just took off in that third quarter, and the Lions couldn't counter back, and that's what head coach Dan Campbell was focusing on in the post-game press conference, was how they just couldn't find that answer like they had done so many times earlier this season, and he says it's just a heartbreaking way to lose. Yeah, hi, Ann. Good evening from Detroit. You know, we were in the bowels here at Comerica Park when staff was quickly ushering out what would have been some celebratory items from the Tigers locker room. They were that close. I mean, this was that close for Detroit, clinching a berth into the American League Championship Series for the first time since 2013. It was not to be. Cleveland, give them credit, fought back numerous times in this game. And now the Tigers have to turn their attention to Game 5 in Cleveland on Saturday. They're not going to panic, though. They've been playing with their backs against the wall for months now, and they've got the American League soon-to-be Cy Young going in Game 5. Breaking news this morning, Hurricane Helene made landfall overnight as a major Category 4 storm in northwest Florida. Helene just downgraded within the last hour or so to a tropical storm. Still, though, packing a punch hours after landfall. On the left side of your screen is a live look at Tampa, Florida. On the right is a look at where Helene is now as it races off to the north and northeast. Now, this storm's still packing a punch, as I mentioned. Check out some of the videos coming out of Florida overnight and into this morning. This is a bridge in the Tampa Bay area that had to be shut down yesterday as the waves were crashing over the top of the roadway as a result of a significant storm surge and obviously strong winds. Many parts of Florida saw very strong winds and heavy rain, even if they weren't dealing with the storm surge along the coastline. Over 1 million customers are without power in Florida, and that number is still rising this morning. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says once the storm has passed, crews will be ready to launch search and rescue operations for residents trapped in their homes. Authorities in Lee County, Florida already were in rescue mode overnight after a resident there called 911 due to rising waters at his house. Deputies were able to rescue this man, and he's doing well, according to the county sheriff. Now we are bringing in Chief Meteorologist Darren Rockall. Darren, how much longer can Helene maintain tropical storm status, and what's the latest on where it's headed next?
Well, it's over.
And Michigan State comes in as the 9 seed here in the round of 64 in the NCAA tournament. But once you get into the tournament, Tom Izzo says the seed next to your team, it doesn't matter. Everybody's in the tournament. Now it's what happens going forward. If Michigan State can get past the 8 seed Mississippi State tomorrow, they would likely face the 1 seed in the West region, North Carolina. Of course, we're in North Carolina, so that game could see a lot of Carolina blue in the crowd if we get to that point. Of course, that game will be held on Saturday. We're going to have a whole lot more from Open Practice and Media Day today here in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming up later tonight on News 10. In Charlotte, I'm Seth Wells. Taylor, back to you. Yeah, Fred and Tim, that is right. We showed you just a little while ago the scene outside of Ford Field, and right now, as you can see behind us, some of the seats starting to fill up. The gates opened up at noon, and we are expecting another very loud crowd here at Ford Field as Lions take on the Bucs. That crowd made a huge difference in their game against the Rams last week. Flooding hitting mid-Michigan last night and into the overnight hours. This is footage from yesterday in East Lansing, where you could see significant flooding in the streets and some residents trying to get creative, trying to find a way around those floodwaters. Now, with all the rain that we're still seeing in mid-Michigan, the flooding may get worse before it gets any better. That's why today's News 10 First Alert Weather Day, and that's why News 10's Riley Connell is live in East Lansing for us this morning. Riley, what are you seeing so far today?